This is TWiT.
As everyone knows, we're in the midst of an interesting time. Russia's President Putin has directed Russia's military to launch an attack against Ukraine. Many did not believe it would happen, and the world is still recovering from its shock, but happening it is. We're talking about this here because, as I mentioned briefly last week, the attacks have not only been conventional, they've also had a prominent and evolving cyber component. And while there has been a long-standing, low-level cyber standoff between major global adversaries, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, we haven't yet experienced what any country might be able to unleash upon another. And frankly, having listened to well-placed and well-informed experts in the U.S., everyone is a bit afraid to see what full-scale cyber warfare might look like. We know what happens when you shoot a bullet, when you launch a missile or roll a tank. Though the effects can be deadly, they are understandable and contained. But the presumption held by everyone is that all of the major powers have already deeply infiltrated each other's networks. And I mean, that Daxon thing I was just talking about is a perfect example. It's like, that is just creepy to think that something that powerful is scattered around, and apparently it is. And with this infiltration of each other's networks is the planting of cyber bombs and booby traps. And no one's really anxious to go first. So as I said, we're in the midst of an interesting time. Last week, the day after I mentioned the previous Russian DDoS attacks against Ukraine's military and some of its banking infrastructure, additional DDoS attacks were launched against those same Ukrainian facilities. In response, the Ukrainian government issued a call to arms to local hackers, after which alleged hacktivists claimed credit for knocking the website of the Russian state-run news service RT News offline. And, if we all just keep this at the level of DDoS attacks, we're going to be fine. Then, last Thursday, Russian government websites went dark to some parts of the world after being targeted with a flood of web traffic via a DDoS attack, which attempted to knock them offline. No one has claimed credit, so it's unclear who directed the attack or if it was successful in disrupting sites. The reason there's some question about the success of the attacks is that the websites in question began claiming to be teapots. Now, presumably Russian teapots.
What?
We've talked about this before, but it's due for a refresher. A web server replying to an HTTP query begins its reply with a 3-digit code to indicate the server's overall response to the query. Any response beginning with a 1 is informational. Responses beginning with a 2 indicate success. 3 indicates one of a number of redirection types, like temporary, so don't remember the redirection, or this is permanent, so please don't ask for that old URL again. Responses beginning with 4 represent a client error, that is like asking for something bad, and 5 is a server error. Within that framework, 200 is the most common code representing success, and everyone is familiar with the infamous 404 error, which means that the resource being requested was not found or does not exist on the server. Back on April 1st of 1998, thus the traditional April Fool's Day, Internet RFC 2324 was offered to describe and standardize version 1.0 of the HTCP/CP. HTCP/CP is, of course, the lesser-known hypertext coffee pot control protocol. In describing the the rationale and scope of the proposed HTTP/CP protocol, this RFC explains, there is coffee all over the world. Increasingly, in a world in which computing is ubiquitous, the computists want to make coffee.
Sure,
Coffee brewing, I mean, this is self-evident, right?
Yeah.
Coffee brewing is an art, but the distributed intelligence of the web-connected world transcends art. Thus, there is a strong, dark, rich requirement for a protocol designed espressoli for the brewing of coffee.
Oh, dear.
Coffee is brewed using coffee pots. Networked coffee pots require a control protocol if they are to be controlled. Thus, this document specifies a hypertext coffee pot control protocol, HTTP/CP, which permits the full request and responses necessary to control all devices capable of making these popular caffeinated hot beverages. Okay.
This is because of the Cambridge coffee pot, right? The very first webcam. Yeah.
With that background, the protocol needed to provide for an error in the event that the hypertext coffee pot control protocol was inadvertently applied to a non-coffee pot.
Yes.
The HTTP response 418, beginning with the digit 4, which is universally used to signify an error made by the client, was thereby defined to mean, I'm a teapot.
Oh, that's great.
And thus not the appropriate target of the HTTP/CP protocol. The formal definition of error 418 says, quote, the HTTP 418 I am a teapot client error response code indicates that the server refuses to brew coffee because it is permanently a teapot.
This was an April Fool's joke, but it's a real. But they implemented it.
Yes. A combined coffee/teapot that is only temporarily out of coffee would instead return an error 503. Just to be particular about that. And in fact, Leo, there was a move some years ago to remove the 418 I'm a teapot from Java. And as I recall, a 15-year-old started created a website, saved the 418 code, which generated so much momentum that 418 was formalized and reserved, and the other languages that were considering pulling it all decided, nope, we're going to leave 418 in there.
If you go to google.com/teapot, you actually get a 418. So even Google's in on this one.
So the upshot of all this is that some websites use the 418 I'm a teapot response for requests they do not wish to handle, such as automated queries. And that is the response that the mil.ru Russian website and a few others began returning last Thursday.
Wow.
This is believed to be a geofencing measure denying any further processing of incoming IP traffic outside of Russia.
Wow.
So at least in this case, the sites in question are not down due to DDoS. They are administratively blocked to non-Russian internet traffic. And clearly, you're a teapot.
Very funny. Very funny. Yeah, I saw a number of people initially saying, oh, these sites are down, and others saying use a VPN exiting in Russia, and they're still up. It's just geofencing.
Yep. We can't get to them. And in fact, we did talk at some length some time ago about Russia having deliberately experimented, and it was a little spooky at the time, with their own DNS system rather than relying on they have
their own GPS. GLONASS.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but normally DNS relies on the global root servers,
Right.
and DNS won't work without root servers. Well, they've implemented an internal DNS facility that would allow Russia to go off the internet and become, a self-sustaining, it wouldn't all just go down and dark for everybody. Without connectivity to the rest of the world, you have a rather prescribed internet, but still it would be up and running. And vital services and things presumably would be using, Rusky DNS as opposed to, regular DNS.